and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Video Mail for the week of June 17th, 2013. Welcome to the site to the new members and welcome back to the old. Don't forget the Ask Video Mail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer it. So please send your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There is no such thing as a stupid question, and it is the best way to get the most out of the site. You can even send me your Maya file. I love to get them. Love, love, love it. So if you are here on a free trial, this applies to you as well. Maybe it especially applies to you. It is a great way to get the most out of the site and is also fun as heck to get a video on your question. We are just at the beginning of week 4 of collabs. At the end of this week, we will be halfway done. We have started our trailer, gotten through all the pipeline and the character development tests that we needed to do before we were ready to start the trailer. We have started. There are 6 shots underway. The rest of the animators are going to be getting their shots starting tomorrow and throughout this week, and it is just flying. It is going to be, it's insane. But when we worked in the Czech Republic at Animalia, we had 16 animators in 10 days about, and we got a 4-minute film animated. So this trailer looks like it's timing out to be about 3 minutes, and we have over 2 dozen. So should be able to get it done. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to let you know that the weekly webcast is free for you guys to watch. So check out the homepage of KennyRoy.com and you will get the webcast with my special industry guests, everyone from animation directors to supervisors, legends from the industry, notorious people, and all around just amazing artists. This week is Floyd Norman. If you don't know who he is, just Google it. You will be pretty impressed that we got Floyd. So that will be on Friday, somewhere around between 2 and 3 p.m. On the homepage of KennyRoy.com, and bring your friends because it's free. All right, if you want to check out the webcasts that you missed, they are over there on the menu where it says webcasts. You can watch them, okay? Sorry if I'm speaking a little bit weird. It's because I have a little bit of fluid in my ear, and I can hear my voice like really, really loudly in my left ear. So, and it's cutting in and out. So, if my voice is modulating itself, it's because I'm like going from screaming in my own ear to normal and back and forth like 10 times a second. All right. So this week I've held on to this Ask Video Mail question for a little while, and this week a lot of the lectures that I'm doing for the collaborators have been very focused on what is really the goal of development. What is the part of the animation that you really want to flex and be innovative and show off a new thing and show how good you can do? It's the timing. It's actually the timing. We've discovered so much about the timing of our character, our main character, through the development that we've been doing, that it's just been really, really profound how much of an effect that it's had on on my understanding of animation, on our work. And I wanted to kind of talk about and show just a few of my new thoughts on this issue, and answer one of the questions that I've been sitting on for a while. So it was sent in a few months ago, I believe. But and that's another thing. If you've sent in a video mail question and it doesn't get answered within a few weeks or a few months, then what it means is that all that time that I was kind of feeling like other questions were more broadly applicable to trends that I'm seeing in student work or in the progress of the shots that people on Kenny Roy are doing and all these things, okay? So send in a new question. In fact, my advice that I've given all over the place, but I've given it in some of the articles on kennyroy.com, is how important giving feedback is. Because it might seem like giving feedback is like just like giving something to somebody else and you get nothing in return, right? But actually giving feedback is extremely selfish. Why? Because you don't know how well you learned something until you have to teach it back to somebody else. And so having to find the vocabulary to describe some of the concepts that are very almost ethereal and nebulous, having to find that vocabulary is a hugely beneficial animation exercise. I'm not sure if anybody on kennyroy.com remembers when I first started at Animation Mentor, like it was 8 years ago now. But right when I first started, my classes were disastrous. Luckily, I started in the lower classes, and so it wasn't so hard for me to get up to speed describing some of the lower concepts in animation. But it was disastrous because I just hadn't had anywhere near enough practice using words to talk about all the things I'd discovered in animation to that point. Okay? So, sending in an Ask Videomail question is almost like that. Sending in a question is the beginning of the process of trying to articulate your struggles in animation. Okay? So please think of it as a challenge. If you've never sent one in, and there are hundreds of you who have not. If you've never sent one in, I'm challenging you to do it. But at any rate, let's get back to this question, and I think you'll enjoy. So, what is a golden pose? And I'm really glad that the second part of this question was on there because it inspired what I've been thinking, and it really kind of piqued my interest in terms of what we've been discussing at Collabs as well. So let me back up a little bit. What's been going on is that we have a character that is extremely new. You've never seen anything quite like it in 3D animation. There's been plenty of things sort of, in the ballpark, but never something quite like what we have. And what we've had to do is we've had to start developing how this character moves and do a lot of work to try to make it so that it is new and it is exciting. What we found though, and this is a process of discovery, is that when you are creating animation with a new type of character, that the real innovation that you have to do is in the timing and not the posing. Why? Because you kind of get pose for free, especially in 3D. You kind of get pose for free. And what do I mean by that? When you are creating your poses, what you are essentially doing is you're placing your character and you're positioning your character and you're posing your character, but unless you are keying it, unless you're doing a totally straight ahead approach on ones and twos, which I don't think anyone is, but unless that is your workflow, then what you are saving for later is basically your timing choices, your timing expression, okay? When that's the case, it ends up being completely up to the timing to express something new visually, all right? All of the innovation sort of like falls on the shoulders of the timing because that's what you're kind of doing second. And why I said that you get the posing for free is because it's not as if you can choose the timing, or it's not as if timing choices are given to you and they are completely unchangeable. Even on a visual effects film, where they have like certain things like in the plate like moving because it just got knocked over or whatever. Even when there's like a ton of things, 5, 6 things that interact in one shot, doesn't matter. There's still that ambiguity and that choice in timing. If there wasn't, if something was timed, could be truly timed first, and you could actually like decide on the timing and then fill in the poses, then I would say that you kind of get timing for free, and then the real expression is in the poses. We kind of do a little bit of breaking that, or at least I've proposed that, with using helper objects. The Double Your Speed, Double Your Fun lecture from last year, it's in the store. Maybe you would like to check that out, because I kind of propose a little bit of a workflow change that makes it so that we're a little bit more balanced in our development. Excuse me. It gives you a timing, it gives you a way to get a jump start on timing. But at any rate, kind of back to this issue. So when I got this question, I kind of thought to myself, well, what is a golden pose? Oh, well, it's your key pose. It's the pose that you're going to basically use to tell the story. It's normally the pose that you thumbnail. It's a good place to start. And it utilizes everything head to toe. It utilizes body language and a little bit of subtlety in the body to explain what has come before and what's going to come next. Okay? It has strong silhouette. It's normally the pose that you, if you are doing a performance shot, it's the pose that has that moving hold, right? And just a little bit touching on my workflow lectures, it's the pose that is at the beginning of that moving hold, denoted by that first step key, because I like to put that in and then actually manually build in my overshoot, those kinds of things. Okay, so I wanted to explain that's what a golden pose is, but you can just Google that and get that online. And then the second part of the question, how do you recognize them in video reference? I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. One thing that's happened so far at collabs is that I have told some people, like as they're working, that this pose is good, this pose is good, but it could use a little bit of tweaking. But really, all I'm looking at, all of this is fine. It's fine. It's not done. It's not perfect. Whatever. But you haven't yet shown me, like, our character. I'm not sure if I've even told you guys our character is a worm. It's an inchworm. But I haven't yet seen, you know, that like little inching movement. You know, like how is he going to inch along? And that is completely a timing question. All right. Because what the little body parts are doing within this big like inching question doesn't really answer the question. Only actually the timing does. Okay, so when the Ask Videomail question asks about how do you find it in video reference, I thought to myself, wow, that really kind of like hits the nail on the head. So this is kind of what I want to talk about, right? Let's switch, and I'll show you kind of why this is a little bit of a tweak on my understanding of how animation is created. I think you'll be pretty. I think this will be a pretty, you know, mind-expanding experiment for everybody. Okay, so take a look. So I've begun to draw a flour sack that is doing a jump, right? And you'll notice that like everybody, when I'm creating, you know, these poses, that I'm creating them sort of on the arc. Let me see here. Just want to try to cheat a little bit and get myself an interesting arc. There we go. Oh, but that's not the right size. There we go. All right, something like that. All right. Now, when I create these thumbs, basically I put them not only in pose, but I put them in position, right? So at the very top, when he's starting to, yikes, what happened there? At the very top, here we are. Sorry about that. At the very top, he's starting to squish again, and he's starting to do that little bit of passing, right? So the feet might be stretching just a little bit, but really the body's coming up. Arms, or I like to call those ear tags still up there, right? And then he's coming down. I like to delay one of the legs, you know, have one of them like reaching out like this. Okay. So while you're drawing this, your understanding of the poses that happen are all very well and good, but this doesn't really actually tell you what the jump is. Okay? And so kind of what I'm beginning to understand as I teach animation and as I see animation be created from scratch, from nothing, by a lot of people, I'm understanding and I'm realizing that your golden poses are basically the points that the timing choice, that innovative, new, exciting timing choice is going to be made. Okay? So let me just continue this and I'll finish and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So he lands right here and it's a big squash. You know, he lands on his feet, big squash. Those ear tags really flop down when he lands, whatever, right? So this isn't spaced yet correctly. I would want to have another pose right here, then one right here, and then one right here, very close, right? And then maybe one right here, or I would just actually position this one just a little bit further down, like right here, okay? All right, so when we look at this, we ask ourselves, which ones are the golden poses, right? If he was standing right here before he decided to jump, like this, okay? Would that be a golden pose? Or would it not be a golden pose? All right, and so what I'm submitting to you today is that your golden pose is where you actually say, this is a moment when my timing choice is going to have to be innovative. I'm going to have to invent something new. All right, so your golden pose would have to be this crunched one, not this. This is an in-between. Okay, it's a breakdown or an in-between. Up here, okay? And then, to be totally honest, if you can do it with tangents, that's fine. But I would say that this is a golden pose as well. And I'll tell you why now. And obviously the landing pose is also. Because when you are creating this animation, you have, let's say you have a timeline, okay? You have a timeline, and then you have little like keyframe marks on your timeline, and you can basically slot in. Here's a pose. I can slot this in right in the middle, right? If you create these all in a row, you can move them around. You can retime them in Maya. That's part of my workflow, is just do a lot of retiming. So you grab your poses and you stick them, you know, where they go. That one probably a little bit further. Yeah. And then this one goes right here, right? So, but look at this. When you are creating, like, particularly a animation that needs a little bit of kind of life in it, then it's going to be your very innovative timing choices that make your animation come alive. Or maybe to put it another way, we've all seen realistic. And when you put realistic into a character or into any sort of motion, it's comfortable and it's safe, and the audience can follow it, and the audience knows what to do with that. All right. But when you break conventional physics or mechanics in the body to do something a little bit more special and to do something a little bit more exciting to watch, well, then you're starting to do something, and then you're starting to add value. Okay. Where you are going to do that is on your golden poses. So to give you an example, right, we know that, let's say this is a 9-frame jump, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, okay, we know this, if this was a 9-frame jump, that basically you'd start in the beginning, in the middle you'd have your apex, right? In fact, I'll draw it like this, as if it's a bouncing ball, and then it lands again right here. Okay? And you'd actually have, you know, the spacing would be easy to kind of draw here on the timeline as well, right? Maybe these would be a little bit closer to the top, however you want. But when you are breaking mechanics and you're doing something special, then your golden poses are how you do that. So let me show you what I mean by that. Instead of doing something boring like your normal bouncing ball, why don't you have your character shoot up into the air and sort of hang there like you know, a superhero, all right? And then really quickly, you know, after hanging there for a long time, really quickly kind of like smash down to earth, almost as if that your character can choose how to return to earth, is almost in charge of gravity. Okay, so here's a brand new understanding of this. Okay, and the curve, you know, you have your character up here, it plateaus, and then it comes down. So this should be actually a little bit higher. All right, something like that. All right. You need at least, see why I said that this is a golden pose, this one right here, because you need at least a few more than the beginning and the end and the very middle to sort of define that arc. And what is an arc? An arc, here's an arc, right? An arc is positions, so spacing, all right, and also timing. Check this out. See how all the keys just crunch up at the end there? This looks like a very quick turn and then a slow into me. All right, let's get it even tighter. All right, do you see that? An arc is timing and spacing. So to define this, you know, you need at least 2 points to define a line, at least 3 points, okay, to define a, what is it? 2 points to define a line, oh no, a line or a circle, because that would be radius. 3 points to define, what am I thinking of? Oh, an arc. 3 points to define an arc, right? 4 points to define any planar shape, all right? Because there could be a fold in the middle right here. So these could be 2 separate triangles, right? So any planar shape. So define how to define your animation. That question is answered by your choices in timing, aren't they? Because at the I know this image has gotten very convoluted by now because we've just been drawing over and over and over on it. But look back to the very first animation, and after you've got these poses, which you can kind of do, you know, on a napkin and get, you know, basically generally what you want your flower sack to look like, where are you going to innovate and show me something special? Well, you're going to do it with your timing. So those golden poses are, to put it, I guess to put it simply, or maybe this isn't a simpler or more exciting way to reiterate it, but your golden poses are the moments that are going to define your new innovative, exciting timing in animation. Okay, So when you're looking in video reference, and I'm glad you tacked that onto the question, but if you're looking in video reference, don't look for your golden poses. Look for the timing that inspires you. Look for the really just insane, you never could imagine that it worked that way. You know, like if you see like some parkour person like leap off a building. Just use the timing to inspire you, and then what you will find is, man, that person like I thought like a flip would take like 20 frames. It took like 6 frames, right? How would you define that 6-frame flip? By looking at the video reference. And what you'll find is that every single moment you would need to define it probably has a golden pose in it. Okay? You don't necessarily need all of those, you know, slow in at the top of the arc of a flip. You don't necessarily need, you know, the moment when he's running up to the wall and he's about to kick off of it. But you probably do need that moment when his foot is on the wall and he's about to flip off. You probably also do need the first pose right after he's pushed off the wall, because you have to define that timing moment. Otherwise, it might be even running up to the wall and then sort of almost like linearly bouncing off the wall. Maybe it's running and hitting it, and there's like this crunch in the knee that you never knew was there, and it springs and he kicks at the same time with the other leg. And there's almost like this like explosive like spring action off the wall. Well, that first frame of that spring action, you need that to define that timing. Then that's also a golden pose. Okay? Very good question. I hope I answered it to your liking. Just what we've been doing and how I've kind of been learning from the students, really, and learning new things about animation that I never would have thought of before is really inspiring me. So I'd like to continue this conversation. So please, if you're sitting on a posing or timing question, I'd love to talk more about this. Or you can send me your Maya file, or do that. Okay? This was a lot of fun. Thank you for the question. Please send more to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I am looking forward to it. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.